All right. How you doing? It is the radio guy, the Dr. Mike Prince. Welcome to another episode of the Mike Prince Show, coming to you each and every day, right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Got a notice for you right now. We've changed our Twitter handle and our Instagram handle. It's all the same thing now. It's simply the Mike Prince Show, all running together. That's the Mike Prince Show at Twitter and at Instagram. The website is obnradio.com, and the YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network. And without any further delay, we'll jump right into today's episode. Well, the numbers have finally arrived. We'll talk about that in a little bit in reference to the MEAC SWAC total numbers between the North Carolina Central Eagles and the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. The numbers have come in. We have the official results of everything that took place on Sunday in the ATL. A little bit different than what we had anticipated, but nonetheless, still a huge day for Dewanye Tucker and the mighty Panthers. But before we get into that, we want to acknowledge the new athletic director at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. The Golden Lions made it official by announcing Melvin Hines as their athletic director to carry the Golden Lions forward in their endeavors on the athletic playing fields. That name sounds familiar. Hines was athletic director for a stint of 5 years when you combine the interim basis and his actual athletic director duties at Alabama State. He'll see if he can apply his success at ASU for the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine Bluff. And speaking of athletic director search, the Panthers are still in search of their athletic director. There was a slight adjustment. There was an opening and a closing of the athletic director's position momentarily. So now we'll see if that's going to add a new wrinkle into the overall search. Still a lot of whispering on the could be's, would be's, and the what ifs. We'll keep a close eye. I have some names that are whispering, but I'm going to keep the dignity of the search and withhold that. But nonetheless, we are anticipating a name really, really soon. And speaking of anticipation, there was a technical glitch on Sunday's event between the Eagles and the Panthers as far as the overall stats are concerned. But now all of that has been taken care of. And as a result, we had initially reported that Dewanye Tucker had 248, 247 yards of total rushing. But once the final calculations came out, it was now 224 total rushing yards. But nonetheless, still was enough for him to earn SWAC Player of the Week from the offensive side. Now some of the official numbers that are in. The Panthers had 32 first downs compared to the 20 first downs of the Eagles. Panthers of 3 of 14 on third down conversions, and the Eagles were 3 of 18. Panthers 0 for 1, as were the Eagles 0 for 1 on fourth down attempts. Panthers 331 rushing yards with 295 passing yards, with very well-balanced attack for 626 total yards of offense. Meanwhile, the Eagles had 130 yards rushing, 273 yards passing for 403 yards of total offense. Parker got the interception for the Panthers, as the Panthers, Morton did not throw one interception. As far as punts go, Panthers had 8 points for an average of 34 yards a punt, Technically, it was 33.8, but we rounded it up. And the Eagles had 11 punts for 36 yards average on punts. Now, the Panthers did have a little trouble with penalties. They had 9 penalties for 101 yards, and the Eagles had 10 penalties for 103 yards. Now, the way I do penalties is like this. It might sound crazy, but anytime you get over 100 yards of penalties, I count that up as a potential score that you gave up. So if we were doing it, my way of thinking, that 24 points would have actually been 17 points had it not been for the aiding of penalties, if that makes any sense to you. Meanwhile, the Panthers had 4 fumbles, only lost 1 of them. The Eagles, no fumble loss. Time of possession in favor of the Eagles, 33 minutes, 12 seconds. The Panthers had 26 minutes and 48 seconds. And more of the personal stats, Jalen Morton, 21 of 36 with a 58.3% completion rate for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dewanye Tucker, 22 rushes, 224 yards, 1 touchdown. His long was 68 yards. Jalen Morton also had 63 yards off of 13 attempts. Caleb Broach had 46 yards, a touchdown off of 4 touches. Also failed to mention Jalen Morton did have a touchdown run as well. Receptions. Rector, 4 catches for 98 yards. Wallace, 6 catches for 83 yards. And Hardy, 4 catches for 64 yards. He also had a Madrano reception for 19 yards. Goodwater, 1 reception for 13 yards. And Riles, 2 receptions for 12 yards. Zach Elder, 2 of 3 on field goal attempts, 4 of 5 on extra point attempts. And a little redemption for Xavier Johnson on kickoff returns. He was able to get 2 kickoff returns for 39 yards, averaging 19.5 yards. And Mr. Holcomb had 1 return of 24 yards. So the Panthers were able to stack up and rack up some numbers, which is leading now to their face-off with the Sam Houston Bearkats this coming weekend. We were able to catch up with the head coach of the Sam Houston Bearkats, KC Keeler. And we'll now switch over to that phone interview. We know that the Panthers will be taking on the Sam Houston Bearkats this coming weekend in Huntsville, Texas, and we have been fortunate enough to have on the line the head man in charge for the Bearkats, and that is head coach KC Keeler. First, we want to say thank you for making yourself available on what has been, I know, a short and chaotic week. You're just opening up. It seems like you're kind of behind the 8 ball with the Panthers coming in with which will be their 3rd game. How do you approach that coming up with this season opener?
Yeah, it was a very strange training camp. We didn't come into camp till August 10th, and we were done August 22nd because we started school so early. So shortest training camp I've ever been involved with. Try to keep the kids in a training camp mode for that first week or so of school, which is hard to do because all the girls are on campus, and you got classes going on, and they're dropping an ad, and they're doing all those kind of things. But I know this. I know we're going to be playing a really good Prairie View team that has probably gotten all of its kinks worked out. That's what you do those first 2 weeks of the season. I think they have a pretty good feel who they are, and we have a lot of balls in the air. New coordinator on offense, new coordinator at special teams, new quarterback, new tailback. Lost a second-round draft choice on the defensive line. Lost the greatest receiver in the history of the conference. So, yeah, we have a lot of moving parts, and so it's going to be interesting to see us play on Saturday night.
Well, you talk about your offensive coordinator. You got 2 deadly weapons that is no secret, Davion Davis and then Nathan Stewart. But the more interesting fact is you got a 3-headed monster that you had coming into this thing on determining who was going to be able to get that ball to him. Have you determined a game day starter as of now?
All three kind of give you a little something different. Mike Dare is 6'6". He's athletic. He can run all the RPO game. He can, run the ball. You can run option with him if you wanted to. He can do everything. Then you have Eric Schmidt. Eric Schmidt is the athlete. He's the 4.40. But he's improved so much more in the pocket than he did earlier in the year or in spring ball. So you feel really good about where he can take you. Then you have Ty Brock, who was the number one recruit in the quarterback position at our level 2 years ago. And all he needs to do is play. The more he plays, the better he's going to get. So I think we have three pretty good options. They're all a little bit different, but we're going to figure it out by game day, that's for sure.
Now, one thing about it, Dare is, from my background check, he's the only one that actually has some collegiate snaps underneath his belt. Does that give him an inside track as far as being your starter for Saturday?
Well, I definitely think that you would like to have somebody who has some experience, especially when you're playing a pretty good football team and, you have a new coordinator and there's some moving parts. We lost a third-team All-American tailback who was the second leading rusher in the history of school. So we lost some of the top weapons maybe in the history of this football program, and now we have to replace them with a new offensive coordinator. So Mike having some experience definitely is a positive for us.
Now, one thing about it, you're representing the Southland Conference, and it's been traditionally a strong conference with you guys, the Bearkats, being atop of that. And I know you had an opportunity to sneak a peek and see that one of your sister schools was able to pull off the upset on a Big 12 opponent in Kansas. How does that make you feel about your overall conference and what you guys bring to the table? And had you had a chance to reach out to your fellow coach?
Yeah, we actually play them in 2 weeks, so I'll see him up in Thibodaux. But, they went toe-to-toe last year with A&M. And if it wasn't A&M kicking a field goal with about 20 seconds left, it would have been a 7-point ball game. So they've gone up into the Lions' Den a couple times now and have played really well. They have Tulane this weekend, which is another FBS opponent. But since I've gotten here, Mike, this conference has definitely gotten better from the bottom up. The teams like Nichols that weren't that good at one point have really kind of come along. I really think this conference is growing and getting better. And again, I think when I first got here, there was 2 or 3 good teams, and everyone else you could kind of count as a win. Now every single weekend when you go out there, it's going to be a ball game.
We're talking right now with KC Keeler of the Sam Houston Bearkats. They'll be taking on the Prairie View A&M University Panthers Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Coach, real quickly as we get close to wrapping this up, what do you see some of the advantages that you bring into this game coming up this weekend against the Panthers, and what do you see that the Panthers would bring?
Well, I think that the biggest advantage they have is having, obviously, that those games under their belt and feeling good about, where they are. They played, had a Division I team beat, and then they played, obviously, a very good team in Atlanta in a bowl sort of atmosphere. And so I think they have to feel good. Also, they got a chance to travel to Atlanta, and those, all those camaraderie things you get a chance to do on away games. They've done those things. And so I think they have to feel pretty good about, where they are as a football program right now going into our game and then their conference play. But for us, I think the biggest advantage is that, they don't have tape on us. We got a chance to get those games on ESPN, and even though it's not the same as having tape, at least we have some sort of idea of formations and personnel and those kind of things, where we have a new coordinator. We have a lot of guys. We have some, a pretty good number of guys coming back off the offense, 2 phenomenal wide receivers. How do we deploy them versus how we did it last year? A lot of changes up for us on defense. How are we using that personnel? So again, I think our advantage is the fact that they don't really have a pretty good feel for what we're going to be doing. They're going to be kind of scrambling on that sideline, kind of, putting 2 and 2 together, seeing if they can match up to get 4. And our advantage is we have a little bit of a peek on them.
Okay. And, Coach, traditionally you guys had a pretty consistent special teams unit in case of field goal kickers. Is that the case this year for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Trey Honstein's back again. He's hit the ball phenomenally, maybe as well as any field goal kicker I've had in my coaching career in terms of during training camp. Been very high percentage, 55 yards and in. Feel real good about him. Have the same snapper and holder back. So And we have a great punt returner. We have all conference kickoff returner. So who took one back for a touchdown last year against Prairie View. So I really like the potential in our special teams. And as we all know, that's going to be a third of the game. It's a big part of it. And early on, I told the team, I said, when you look at all the upsets week 1 and 2 of the season, it's because of penalties, it's because of special teams, and it's because of attention to detail. You can't simulate a college football game. You just can't do it. Everyone does their best efforts to try to, but with the band going and the referees out there, it's just a different atmosphere with a full stadium. So again, the advantage Prairie View has is they've had a chance to go and play pretty well in 2 opportunities to play real football games, and this is our first real one coming up.
And my final question, Coach, would be this. I know this is year 2 of the home and home. Are there any discussions, at least early stages, of possibly continuing on and perhaps making this a tradition between Prairie View and Sam Houston?
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense. We're an hour and a half away from each other. It's both high-level football programs. It's really tough to get out of conference games for us. It's really hard for Prairie View to get out of conference games for them without us traveling thousands of miles. So, I would be all for us doing a home and home. What a beautiful stadium Prairie View has. It was a great atmosphere. I mean, that place was rocking last year when we played at their place. Very impressed. They did a great job hosting. And I think it'd be a great idea to see if we can get a home-and-home series going.
All right, Coach. We want to thank you so much for taking time to meet with us on today. The Panthers and the Bearkats doing battle at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. If I'm not mistaken, that game is going to be on ESPN3, correct, Coach?
I believe so.
All right. Any closing thoughts and comments you'd like to share with us, sir?
It should be a great game. Hopefully, Prairie View brings some fans along, and I think the band's coming, which is always a highlight for everybody if the Prairie View band makes it. So should be a great game, and I'm looking forward to seeing how good a football team I have.
All right, Coach. KC Keeler of the Sam Houston Bearkats. I am the radio guy to Dr. Mike Prince. We're going to take us a pause for the calls, and we'll be right back with more of the Mike Prince Show.
Dallas, it's coming. September 29th, history will be made on this date. September 29th in Dallas, Texas only. Multiple concerts.
It only happens once per year.
70,000 people in one location.
Thousands of people.
All-day activities. Don't change this station. Listen for more info.
People are coming from Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, all over the country. Dallas, get ready. The biggest yet. The biggest
one-day event in the state of Texas. And it only happens once per year. This is an event where you can bring your whole family, your friends, your girls, your boys, your crew, an entire day of entertainment. It's happening September 29th, only in Dallas, Texas.
Keep listening for more details for this major event. And most importantly, do not touch your radio dial.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Listen to the Mike Prince Show, weekdays on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
And we do thank Coach Keeler for making himself available for our pregame analysis between the Bearkats and the Panthers. When you look at this, you begin to do your checks and balances. I'm feeling pretty good about the Panthers coming in on Saturday to take on the Bearkats. This will be game number 3 for the Panthers. And you're going to be getting better each time around. The key for the Panthers, in my opinion, is going to be how they handle the first 3 possessions. The first 3 possessions are going to be very, very strong indicators for me. And, of course, how they finish this game. The Panthers in good shape right now. Is it too early for me to give my projections? I'll save that for tomorrow. Meanwhile, Missouri State will be hosting the Lincoln Blue Tigers. Why do I bring that up? Because Coach Steve Smith is one of our regulars here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network and the Mike Prince Show for Lincoln Blue Tiger Report. They'll be playing at 11 a.m. this Thursday morning. That game was originally scheduled for 6 p.m., but due to inclement weather that is projected to be in Springfield, Missouri, they'll play that game at 11 a.m. on this morning. So that could be a great mixture of a potential upset. We'll keep you posted on that, and we'll hear from Coach Smith as he begins to wrap things up throughout the course of the week. And speaking of wrapping things up, I must exit stage left. I want to remind you to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Mike Prince Show. The website is obnradio.com. I want to also remind you, our listening partner drive has officially launched off. We're asking you to partner with us as we continue to give you cutting-edge information, interviews, and much, much more. Visit the website at obnradio.com, and at 17 cents a day, $5 a month, you can help support the programming here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Don't forget our message line for you to leave your questions, thoughts, comments, or concern at 713-570-6736. I am the radio guy, the doctor, Mike Prince. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.